Welcome to Lifeword's Day by Day, where we're studying the book of 1 Corinthians, where in this passage that we're going to see, we're going to learn that God generously gives His church wisdom, so we don't need to forget it. In 1 Corinthians chapter 3, verse 16, Paul begins a question with, "Do you not know?" The first of many uses of this phrase in 1 Corinthians, and this is actually a condescending phrase. Paul is saying, if you're so wise, how do you not already know this? Why don't you remember what I've taught you? The implication is that the Corinthians already knew or had been taught that they themselves were the temple of God and that God's Spirit was in them collectively as a church. However, the leaders of the church had come in and carried them away from what was biblically true in order to follow what was culturally relevant. So remember what we said the other day, that abandoning biblical truth for the sake of cultural relevancy is an attempt to destroy God's church, which in the end will only lead to your own destruction. So Paul is reminding the church that they already have the wisdom that they need in the Holy Spirit, whom God generously gave to them. And take note of this, Paul is not speaking individually here at this point. Paul's not saying in this text that each one is indwelt with the Spirit. He will say that later on in chapter 6, and that's a glorious truth. But don't let that truth blind you from seeing this astonishing truth as well, and that is the Spirit of God inhabits local churches. Your local church is the temple of the living God. So listen to me. The greatest organization, institution, family, team that you could ever belong to is a local, biblical, Christ-exalting, gospel-preaching, God-worshiping church. It's not a championship team, not the president's cabinet, not the board of a flourishing company, but a local, identifiable New Testament church. I don't know of any other entity of whom God makes this announcement about His wisdom indwelling. So when we gather and when we go, God's Spirit dwells in us, lives in us, makes His habitation with us. How generous and gracious is God that He would do that for us so that we would have all we need to do all He has called us to do. When you pray today, please remember Dennis Lopez and his family, our Changemaker missionaries in Honduras. And also remember the Kasubi Lifeword broadcast that's heard in Tanzania, Niger, and Congo.